Not everyone in the industry is as squeaky clean as some of the characters they may have played.
And some of them might even surprise you. Hello and welcome to the Daily Weekly Podcast.
We'll be sharing our thoughts on a variety of movies and TV shows.
And of course, we'll be discussing the latest entertainment news.
I'm Bradley.
And I'm Rachel.
Now, since most movies around the world have put a pause on production and pretty much delaying any release for the foreseeable future, and that's kind of left us with little news to actually talk about, other than they're all being pushed back, which isn't great, but what can you do?
Bit repetitive.
Yeah. So today we've decided to do an interesting topic. It's on paper it seemed interesting, and then once we got down to all the research, there's some things I didn't know, that's for sure. So we're looking at actors who may have committed crimes. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce my co-host for these next few episodes, none other than, drumroll please, Rachel. Hello, welcome to the Daily Weekly Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute delight to be here.
Yeah, so...
It's been a while in the making, getting me here.
Oh yeah, it has. It's a long time in the making, but here we are. Oh, so yes.
Can't rush good things, I'm afraid.
No, you can't. No. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Neither was Rachel.
So,
Sorry.
Yeah, welcome. You know, we might have seen you, well, some people might have seen you in some of our videos already.
Yeah.
If not, then you should definitely go check them out.
Definitely.
On our main channel and our second channel, because we have two.
We have two, and I've just come in and dominated them both.
You have.
I never really know how to enter a new working situation, so dominating is just my default. So that's what we've done here.
Yeah, and some of you might be wondering, where's Jake? Well, he's a busy guy these days, you know? So he is taking a little break.
He's off getting a degree.
He is, and in the meantime, me and Rachel will be holding the fort, keeping his seat warm, ready for him to jump back in.
Yeah, we miss you already.
We do. It's not the same without you, Jake, but... You know, that when that day comes, when all three of us will be here together, that'll be a good day.
Yes, and become that iconic trio instead of the iconic duo.
Exactly. Goodbye, Three Musketeers. Hello, the Daily Weekly Trio. Yeah, that.
The Daily Weekly Trio. Oh, yeah, no, that's good.
So, as always, check out all the links in the description and make sure to use the hashtag Daily Weekly Podcast to keep the conversation going.
If you are enjoying this, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends.
And with that out of the way, let's get into it. So, I think it's fair to say you did the research on this one.
I absolutely love true crime. As soon as I saw this as one of your potential ideas, it proves my dominating nature. I was like, yep, I'll be having that one. I love true crime, and it sounds really morbid, but I love researching crimes of celebrities who have been murdered or those that have committed crimes. Like, I must have watched every single Charles Manson documentary about Sharon Tate, because I just think that is so... it's just so juicy, and we are going to come back to that. There is a mention of Sharon Tate later. But some of these I didn't actually know. Some of them you may know, you may not know. Oh, but I'm just so excited to get into it. So...
Yeah, I mean, I had a quick read through before we went on, and I didn't know like almost any of this, really. I mean, I've heard of some of it, but...
Have you now had to go get therapy?
And you've gone into quite a lot of detail.
I did go... I spent a solid 2 days researching these. I'm so bored, for one. And two, I just got way too into it. I mean, some of the names I saw, and I was like, right, we're going to find out every name, every associate, every legislation that was applicable to the time. I was getting into it. So this could be a long one.
It could
Get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee.
Get comfortable. And relax.
This might not be relaxing.
As we take you down the rabbit hole of actors who commit crimes.
If we did it in ASMR, do you think it'd be more relaxing or creepier?
Creepier, especially given some of the crimes. I don't feel comfortable.
I don't. Definitely not. Okay. That was an idea that was there and then immediately left straight away. Okay, so the first one is of a very famous actor who I only know for one main role, and that is Tim Allen, Buzz Lightyear himself. I obviously knew we were recording this today, but it was really spooky because I went on a dog walk yesterday and we bumped into this family, and the toddler had a Buzz Lightyear toy and stroked my dog with the Buzz Lightyear toy, and I was like,
Oh.
don't put the crack addict on my dog, thanks. Spoiler, that's what this is about. Okay,
Oh,
so
wow. It's a sign.
Tim Allen isn't... It's a sign. Please don't turn my dog into a crack addict. So, yes, as well as being known for voicing Buzz Lightyear in all the Toy Story films, Tim Allen is also famous for portraying Santa Claus in the Santa Claus movies. I'm going to disappoint everyone. I actually haven't seen them.
What? I absolutely love them. They're a Christmas must-watch for me.
Are they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The third one's the best one as well.
Well,
It's got, like, time traveling.
I've missed my opportunity. It's the middle of January. I've missed my opportunity. We can only hope for Christmas 21 that I will get round to watching them, hopefully. But did you know that Tim Allen spent 2 years and 4 months in prison for drug trafficking in the 70s?
Wow.
I
did not know that.
I know, exactly. There's more twists. He was originally given a life sentence for drug trafficking, but after making a deal with the authorities, he gave the names of the other dealers to the authorities. He was given a shorter sentence, but still, I think a life sentence is slightly extreme for drug trafficking. Maybe I'm just a softie, like, yeah, no, you can get away with it, but I don't know.
I think there are worse crimes that sometimes get lighter sentences, so it's all there.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll go back in time to October 1978. Tim Allen was arrested at an airport in Michigan. He was caught with 650 grams of cocaine, which is a lot of cocaine.
Yeah.
That's nearly a whole bag of sugar. Just realised that. Because it's a kilogram of sugar in one bag, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's some good sugar. And at that time, there was a recently passed state legislation, so just in Michigan, not the whole of America, which meant that anyone caught with that amount could face a life sentence in jail. So, first of all,
Wow.
You shouldn't ever do drugs anyway, but second of all, that was unlucky.
Yeah, the timing of that.
I mean, someone clearly wasn't watching the news that year. Or whenever that legislation was actually passed. And what was even unluckier, we say this as if we're on his side, we're never on the side of criminals. What was even unluckier is that he was caught by an undercover police officer called Michael Pfeiffer, that's Pfeiffer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, who had been following him for a few months. So what basically happened was they arranged to meet at an airport, because where else would you do your drug deals? Put the bag in the locker for the guy who was buying the cocaine, supposedly, to go get it. But the undercover cop got it and they swarmed him. They swarmed Tim Allen as soon as the cocaine was found. At that time, this amount of cocaine, so 650 grams, was worth $42,000. Oh my god.
That's crazy.
I can't even imagine that amount of money.
No. Oh, if I had that money right now, well, that'd be nice.
Would you spend it on cocaine?
I would not. I would treat my family to a nice holiday when we can all go on one.
Yeah, I think I would
some
do.
home improvements, new clothes, that sort of thing.
New clothes. £42,000 worth of clothes.
I'll be rocking my Gucci, don't you worry.
You would look... Oh, I don't even think you'd get that reference. You would look like Jeffree Star.
No, I would not get that reference.
Okay, don't worry.
I don't even know who Jeffree Star is. That's a topic for another day.
That's a topic for another day, and I will be sending you photos with your face superimposed on him.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Get excited. And yeah, like I said earlier, because he offered the names of the other dealers for a lighter sentence, that didn't make sense. Why did I say that? So, as I said earlier, he offered the names to the police of the other drug dealers in turn for a lighter sentence. But because he decided to do this, the case was then handed to the federal court instead of the state court, which, as we said earlier, was Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Which then meant that the new legislation was void. So luck did come to him in the end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and his information, so Tim Allen's information helped authorities indict 20 people in the drug trade and resulted in the conviction and sentencing of 4 major drug dealers. Which, every cloud. And he was still sentenced to 3 to 7 years in prison, but didn't serve all of that, because I don't think I can name one criminal that served all of their sentence.
Yeah, unless you're onto death row, not many criminals get the full thing, do they?
No, it's like, well, you've done your bit, you turned up, made an effort.
Oh, good behaviour.
Off you go.
Half your sentence.
Good behaviour.
Oh.
Yeah. He was caught in October 1978, but he was released in June 1981. So that's not even 3 years since the actual case started, which is insane.
Yeah, and he went on to become an incredibly successful actor who's worth millions of pounds.
I think the main thing to take from most of these cases is that a lot of actors have said, I can't stop burping, I don't know why. A lot of actors have said that their time in prison gave them time to reflect and really think what they want to do with their life, and a lot of them do the thing of, that's where I realised I wanted to be an actor, so maybe without prison we wouldn't have all these amazing actors.
Well, yeah, that kind of reminds me of Robert Downey Jr. because in his younger years, he went to prison for drug use and all that sort of thing, and then after that, look at him now. Everyone loves the guy. He's instantly recognisable.
I love him. I love him for his criminality. I love Robert Downey Jr. on so many levels. It's not funny. Not in I'd marry him way. I just really admire him. I don't know why I didn't write. Well, I do know why I didn't write about Robert Downey Jr. The reason I didn't was, 1, it was too popular a case. I thought everyone would know it, and 2, I think if we ever did speak about Robert Downey Jr., we wouldn't be able to talk about his drugs and alcoholism without talking about addiction, and that's a whole nother topic to get onto. One that's very close to my heart, but this one's just about bad people. And I don't think you could be called a bad person for having an addiction, because it's not good. It's not good. So yeah. Since 1981, I can't actually think what his first film was. Can you, Tim Allen?
No, I don't.
No.
Yeah, I only know him from Toy Story and the Santa Claus movies. I mean, he's done plenty others, but I can't think.
Put you on the spot there, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. But suffice to say, Toy Story probably came out in the late 90s, so within 20 years of being released, he had made a career for himself in one of the most popular kids' film franchises. That definitely influenced my life. All my childhood memories are of Toy Story. And I know that my brothers will say the same. It's definitely, it was a crucial point in our childhood watching Toy Story. So yeah, maybe without him it would have been so different.
It really would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on to someone that's even worse now.
Oh yeah, this is bad to worse.
I can't.
In so many ways.
This is like cocaine deal gone wrong to actual rape. I didn't know this, and I don't know why I didn't. But Roman Polanski. So this is where we mention Sharon Tate again. This is where I knew his name really. Roman Polanski was a Polish-French director, and he was most famous for being married to Sharon Tate. And Sharon Tate and their unborn child were murdered by Charles Manson in 1969. This doesn't excuse his later behaviour, obviously. In March 1973, which is in my parents' lifetime, which is even weirder to think about, he was arrested on 6 charges against a then 13-year-old girl, rape by use of drugs, perversion, sodomy. He has 6 charges, all related to unlawful sexual behaviour, sodomy, perversion, use of drugs on an under 14.
Very bad things.
Yeah, not nice. So he was 43 at the time. The girl was 13. That's not okay. Like, no. He did plead guilty to a different charge. So he pled guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor. No mention of giving them drugs or any sort of controlled substance. No
Jesus.
mention of like perversion or anything like that.
No.
So the story goes that he apparently asked the girl's mother if he could take photos of the girl for a copy of Vogue that he was guest editing at the time, which the mum agreed to. You know, didn't see anything wrong. It's a famous actor and director. What's he going to do? You know, he's trustworthy. If only she knew. Bear in mind, this girl was 13 at the time. She was persuaded to pose topless by Polanski and was eventually manipulated into agreeing to do another shoot with him on another day. Oh my god, it's so creepy.
Yeah.
Just a bit of name dropping here. The second photo shoot actually took place in Jack Nicholson's home. So Jack Nicholson was dating Angelica Houston at the time. So this is a quote from the girl. "We did photos with me drinking champagne. Toward the end, it got a little scary and I realised he had other intentions and I knew I was not where I should be. I just didn't quite know how to get myself out of there."
It's horrible.
What's even worse, as if it couldn't get any worse, is that Angelica Houston, the actress, tried to intervene because she felt suspicious. You know, the doors were closed, she could hear them talking, like overheard sort of what he was saying to her.
Yeah.
But Polanski reassured her that they were just finishing the shoot and they'd be out soon. And that just, I can't imagine the guilt that Angelica Houston would have felt knowing that was happening in her boyfriend's house. The girl, who was obviously in America, the legal drinking age is 21, over here it's 18. Either way, she was underage. They shared champagne and a sedative drug. And he performed non-consensual oral, vaginal and anal sex on her. Polanski disputes whether this was consensual or not, but then that goes back to so many rape cases where the guys are like, "Oh, I think it was consensual. Oh, I think she did say yes," or, you know, things like that. You either know or you don't.
Yeah, and even if it was, she was still underage, and
It's just stupid.
Just
really, isn't it? I mean,
it's horrible. That makes me feel really uncomfortable. That's just ugh.
But I know it makes you feel uncomfortable, and I know it made me feel uncomfortable, but these are things that should be spoken about, not in a salacious or a scandalous sort of way, but in a way to tell people that you can't always trust those just because you see their name like in big flashing lights. You can't trust them.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of takes you back to the Jimmy Savile scandal. I mean, we haven't spoken about him here because he's not worth my time and effort. But parents let their children go to his show unaccompanied because he was a household name. He was a child's TV presenter. Why would he do anything so inhumane? Why would he do that? You know? But he did, and he did it for years and years and years. Fun fact, not really that fun. My mum actually met Jimmy Savile.
Really?
Nothing happened. He must have sensed the gay vibes, but nothing happened. Did you choke then? Sorry.
No, I was...
But yeah, so... Yeah. I
Wow.
It just makes me so angry. And yeah, same as the Michael Jackson case as well. You know, parents trusted their little boys to go play with him because, well, they're not girls, so they won't get raped. And, you know, it's Michael Jackson. He won't do anything.
Yeah. Oh, are you a Michael Jackson skeptic?
What do you mean?
Do you, think there was a bit more to him than...
I believe he did it.
I think so too. I believe that.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing can make me think he didn't. Absolutely nothing.
But then, you know, it's like that thing, isn't it? Oh, because they're in this public eye and they're like an idol to so many, you think, oh, they could never be like that. Why couldn't they?
Yeah, I think Michael Jackson definitely did it.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Finding Neverland documentary?
I did, yeah.
You can't look at those men. You can't look at those guys' faces and tell me that he's innocent. That Michael Jackson's innocent.
Yeah.
You just can't.
No, I agree.
Good, because I would have spent the next 45 minutes trying to convince you. I would have brought up like manuscripts from the court. I don't know. I would have done anything I could.
Yeah, I've done my research into it. Yeah, I've looked into that, and it's shocking, really, how,
to say the least. And it's power. That's all it is. It's power.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to the Roman Polanski case, which is what started this conversation. Because of the age of the girl, the victim, they decided not to put her through a court trial. Tried to arrange a plea deal. Polanski accepted, and they dropped the initial 5 charges, which were the things that were involving drugs, perversion, sodomy, that sort of thing, but pled guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor. So Polanski, instead of going to prison like any standard civilian who was to rape a child, he had to report to the state prison for a 90-day psychiatric evaluation, but allowed him to complete his current project at that time.
I think it's crazily unacceptable that they let him finish his work.
Yeah, and the work included going to Europe.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, even though he's not American, because the crimes took place in America, he was being obviously charged in America, the court proceedings were happening in America. You know, you'd expect him to have to stay in America. But no, he went to Europe. And actually, he went to Oktoberfest in Germany. What a lucky guy. But a picture was taken of him at Oktoberfest with his arms round some girls, which obviously not appropriate if you're getting convicted of rape.
Yeah.
So that's when they decided, oh, we should probably come home now. And he was ordered to come home immediately.
Gee.
And then that's when he started his 90-day psychiatric evaluation, but was eventually released after 42 days. It's not even half time he was meant to do it. Good news though, he lost his directing job on his then current project, which, you know, gave me some hope for justice. If you are getting arrested for anything like murder or rape or anything that severe, like, why should you be allowed to continue your job? I mean, imagine if you went to Asda and there was a guy that was currently waiting to be sentenced for murder and you were just getting served by him.
Yeah.
That's not normal. That's not okay.
Yeah, like that wouldn't happen. But
no,
you know, I did some research into this, and even in this century, in the last 20 years, although not many, Roman Polanski has still done projects, even some up until 2019. So he's still working.
Yeah, I actually watched the film that he made in 2002 called The Pianist, which was, what was it about? It was about a Jewish pianist during the Holocaust and that sort of thing, and it was really endearing. It was such a lovely film, and then I saw his name at the end and I was like, what? Yeah. Why could such a horrible man make such a beautiful film? Not fair. He was then threatened with imprisonment, so he fled to London in 1978 thinking we would take him. I don't think so, hon. And then the next day he went on to France. I assume we quickly told him where to shove it. The girl then sued Polanski in 1988, so 10 years after he fled, alleging sexual assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress and seduction. The case was settled 5 years later, in 1993, and in 2009 it was reported that Polanski still owed her $600,000. That's just not normal money.
No, but
that's like 3 times my house.
And even to someone like him, that's pocket change. This guy has the money. Of course he has.
Yeah. I mean, I should have looked up what his net worth was at that time. But it would have been in the millions. Easy.
Yeah.
And then in September 2009, so, you know, only 11 years ago, he was detained by police at Zurich Airport in Switzerland due to his outstanding 1978 US arrest warrant, which I didn't realise you could do. I thought there was the statute of limitations, is that what I mean? Like, there's a certain amount of time, and then it's just automatically dropped. It's a cold case. I thought I thought the arrest warrant would have been dropped in those 31 years, but apparently not. Which is, again, a positive.
I guess if it's a serious crime, then they keep it open for a bit longer. Or,
Yeah.
like if it was something minor, then I expect they would have dropped it. But
Yeah, like Tim Allen's drug crime.
yeah.
Ultimately, the whole reason why Polanski was going to Zurich was to receive an award at the Zurich Film Festival, which is disgusting that he was even nominated for it. And the US authorities had heard about this and asked the Swiss police to apprehend him. Is that the word I meant to put, apprehend?
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's right.
Yeah? My brain is just like, bleh. He requested bail, but obviously this was denied because why would you let him out after 30 years of basically being on the run? And in July of 2010, he was released from custody after much legal debate. His lawyer argued that the 42-day psychological evaluation was enough for Polanski to serve for raping a 13-year-old girl, when it should have been 90 days anyway, but, technicalities.
Wow, what? Gee, that...
Who in their right mind, what lawyer, what person with responsibility in the law, in the justice system like that, can sit there and say, oh yeah, no, 42 days is absolutely fine because he's, ruined this girl's life. She may never be able to have children or a long-term relationship. She may never be able to have all those things that she would have wanted for herself before those photo shoots. So 42 days is fine to make up for that.
I guess if you're paid multi-millions of dollars, everyone has their price.
Everyone has their price. Well, I would like... No, I'm joking. But a few months before this, so still in 2010, a few months before this, an actress called Charlotte Lewis also accused Polanski of sexually assaulting her when she was 16 years old in 1983 in Paris. So that's 10 years after the original case, and still an underage girl.
Yeah.
I think it was a similar situation in that it was a modelling job or an audition or something like that, basically to get her alone. Many other women who have worked in the industry have come forward with allegations over the years, which must be so hard for that original girl to hear, because she kept it to herself for so long. But I suppose there's almost safety in numbers. Like, more people are more likely to believe you if there are more of you, which is stupid. That should never be the case. But
yeah, and it's like it's happened with a few of the big names. If you think, is it the Me Too movement with Harvey Weinstein? That was the thing.
Yeah,
it still is.
Yeah.
All these women coming forward, and I mean, it's shocking because you just think, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine because I'm a guy, okay? I can't put myself in a woman's shoes, especially when something about this, but it's great they're coming forward and that the people who, are getting the justice that, but how so many people just get away with things like this and then the victims are left with nothing,
Yeah. I do dread to think how many celebrities haven't been reported for rapes or sexual assault cases because the victims just haven't come forward. They know there's no point. It would just give them negative media attention, or they won't be believed, or anything like that. It's almost like, who can you trust?
Yeah.
No one, really.
That's the thing. And when money, power, status, all that are involved in that industry, so they can silence you, they can bribe you, and there's nothing you can do. You could be telling the absolute truth, they'll pay someone and that's it. No one's going to believe what you say.
No.
And that's just horrible.
Yeah. Coming into modern day, so as far as I could tell in my research, the case has been dropped, as it has been too many years since the incident to arrest him, which is what I was sort of getting at with the statute of limitations thing. He does remain a fugitive on the US justice system. He's technically still on the run. He's somewhere in Europe, apparently. But that's all my research found. That's all my research. This is a hard one to listen to, but... Oh, yeah, definitely. But it's so worthwhile listening to.
It is, yeah.
I wonder why he did it, though.
Yeah.
Like that, because I was just being really nosy.
I guess.
And Sharon Tate was about 10 years younger than him, maybe 15. So she wasn't young, but she would have been in her 20s when she was murdered. Maybe late 20s, early 30s. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, if she wasn't killed, would he have done it? Would he have done it behind her back?
Yeah.
What would he have done to the unborn baby? I mean, I'm not speculating. Well, I am, but I'm not putting anything out there that I don't think other people would have thought.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that we're just never going to know. Let's be honest. I don't.
No, I think he is still alive. Well, he must be if he's still in Europe.
Oh yeah, he's still kicking. But
dirty old man.
I don't expect a deathbed confession or anything. If he's been on the run basically for the last 50 years, there's.
Yeah, I know. It's just. Oh, and he's still getting what he wants. He can still direct. He can still work. He can still do his passion. But then if you think, one person goes to jail for, I don't know, a really minor crime, like theft or something, that could affect their chances of ever getting a job again. In the UK, at least, I don't know what it is in the US, but in the UK, if you have a criminal record, you can't, it comes up when you get DBS checks, so you can never work with children.
Yeah.
No, it's just to make sure that you are safe and you're reliable. You do need to get DBS checks for basically everything. And if you have a criminal record, that's the first thing that comes up, so you're a bit screwed. Do you believe in reform? Do you think some people can go to prison and come out as another person, or...?
Yeah, there are criminals who never change, and there are those that do.
Yeah?
I think so. I don't think it doesn't work for everybody, and I don't think... But I suppose I'm a bit optimistic that I'd like to think people could change.
Yeah, you always want to see the good in people.
Yeah, I mean, I can see things for what they really are, but... I will also like to be a bit positive as well.
Yeah.
But then for some things, I could be straight up absolutely not. There is no way.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a trust factor, I think. I think that's the main thing.
It is.
I think I'd find it really hard to trust someone who, say I got a friend or a boyfriend or something that had committed a serious crime, like money laundering or sexual assault or something like that. I think I would feel really uncomfortable. I think I've also put a massive guard up for myself. I've dug myself a hole, really, in that I find it really hard to trust anyway. So having someone who's like, oh yeah, no, I went to prison for 3 years for this, that and the other, I'd be like, absolutely not, are you coming into my life? And I've also got to think about my family. My family's quite vulnerable in a variety of ways, so I would have to think about them. I don't think I could allow a criminal into my home.
Absolutely not.
So, what crimes have you committed?
Me?
Oh, so many.
Do you consider lying to be a crime?
Oh, okay. Depends who you've been lying to.
All actors are liars.
Lying is a sin, but not a crime.
It is, but if you're an actor pretending you're lying, aren't you? If you're an actor.
Fancy that. It depends what you're saying. Try to think of an example. Like, is it Ralph Fiennes that played that Nazi man in Schindler's List? Surely he must have lied. He's not actually going to be a Nazi, is he? We all know Mark Wahlberg. What's your favourite Mark Wahlberg film, Bradley? Quick fire.
I don't know. What's he been in again?
No, don't. He's been in everything.
No, he hasn't. I saw you write that. I was like, really? Has he?
He has. He's been in nearly every film that me and my brother watch. My brother is obsessed with him.
I mean, I like him as an actor, yeah. I just, Daddy's Home, or...
Daddy's Home, yeah. Well done. I don't think you get that one.
Yes. Ted.
I loved him in Daddy's Home. I did watch a film with him in once, and it was like a dramatisation of a true crime. I think it was about money laundering, though, and extortion, which was quite interesting when you read about his own criminal past.
Oh.
But no, he has been in lots of things, and now they're all gone out my head. But he has been in so much. But he wasn't always the glamorous, glossy Mark Wahlberg that we know today. When he was 14 years old, just 14, he joined a gang after leaving high school. Obviously, he wasn't meant to leave high school at that age. He just got up and left. He was arrested multiple times for drug possession, dealing drugs, and other similar offences, like the minor things.
Yeah.
The minor things that we've mentioned a couple of times. And then at the age of 16, he attacked two Vietnamese men without any real reason. He wasn't provoked by the men. It's just sort of assumed it was a hate crime, it was a racial attack, that sort of thing. He's also quoted to have admitted saying racial slurs during the attack and during the trial as well. So in the actual courtroom, he was still... I think I did find specific quotes, but I didn't want to include them. But you can imagine.
Yeah.
So the first man he attacked with a stick and he punched the second. At the time, he believed he blinded the second man, which would have given him a more severe sentencing, I suppose. But it was later revealed that the second man was already blind in his left eye during an incident in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Warburg was then arrested and charged for attempted murder because they believed that he'd blinded the second man. But it was later reduced to criminal contempt, which is a maximum 10-year sentence. He pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but he only served 45 days. 45 days. I know he was a kid. I know he was 16.
Yeah.
But... like, it's not even worth it, is it? Like, I've got food in my cupboard that's older than that.
45 days. What was the point?
It's not worth it. But it was the sort of wake-up call that he needed.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many siblings he had, but his siblings had also served prison time.
Yeah.
He was in a gang, so I assume other gang members had been in prison. And it sort of gave him that wake-up call that he needs to turn his life around, and he did. It's another one of those stories where he was in prison and he thought, do you know what I'm good at? Lying, so I'm going to be an actor.
Yes.
He was legally asked to be pardoned to the case in 2015-2016 time, so after he'd become famous. I think he just didn't want to be tied to that stereotype, which is fair, but call a spade, he committed a crime, he's a criminal. And actually the second man, that the one he thought he'd blinded but didn't, supported him in this, but it caused such outrage. So many other people were offended but asking to be pardoned because they were like, no, you've committed a crime, you need to face up to it, which I agree with. I mean, yeah, like, just because he's an actor doesn't mean it could be like, oh yeah, no, you get away with it, because you don't. And he apologised to the other victims of his crimes. Like I said, he was into a lot of drug dealing and that sort of thing. So he apologised to those other victims for offending them. And he actually got no response from the pardon board regarding his request. So legally, he's still... not been pardoned.
Yeah.
So what do you actually think about that? Do you think he should have been pardoned, or...?
I don't know about being pardoned fully, but it does sound like he's very remorseful and he has changed his life. Yeah, so I think maybe he was young, although it was a hate crime and there was potentially no reason for it, and he only served 45 days of that sentence. It does seem like he did have that wake-up call, and this is, I think, an example of, oh, you know, I need to change. This isn't right. You know, this, I can be better than this. And I think he's done that.
Yeah, I think so. Is it worth being pardoned for? I mean, he said sorry to his victims. I don't know if he's actually reconnected with his victims, but he's definitely publicly apologised.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all they needed, you know, to move on with their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a very short one compared to the Roman Polanski one. But I still thought it was really interesting. I didn't know that. I don't know. I guess I thought he was too glossy for it.
I think I've heard of it. I kind of knew he was in kind of gangs when he was younger, but I didn't know these exact crimes.
No,
so.
and he was less likely to be pardoned as well because it was a racial thing. I don't know if he's been racist since, but, you know, there's always clips coming out of celebrities saying, like, the N-word or other discriminatory slurs. So I don't know, maybe if something like that came out, it might show that, okay, he doesn't actually feel that remorseful.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see, won't we?
Indeed.
Okay, so what do you do in your intermission?
Intermission. Well, it's that time of the podcast, so we just take a little break and just kind of remind all you listeners who are still listening at this point to like, comment, and subscribe if you are enjoying it. You know, share it with your friends if you found it interesting. And as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, we do have a second channel.
Woo-woo.
We've had it for a couple of months now, but it's kind of been a bit quiet, nothing really on there.
Until I came in.
until Rachel's arrival. But we've kind of done a little bit of rebranding, and now we have a focus on both channels. So there's some things on there which you won't see anywhere else. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Indeed.
Yeah, and all the links to our social media, you'll find that in the description. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I think we're even on MySpace. Not that we use it, but you might go find us on MySpace. So that's always fun to check out.
MySpace? What year are you in?
And of course, the hashtag Daily Weekly Podcast to keep the conversation going. Tag us in your Instagram photos and your tweets on Twitter and wherever else you use hashtags, because we all have a hashtag, don't we? It's 2021. Let's get the hashtags out.
Whatever it is, we want to see it.
And if you're wanting to start your own podcast or YouTube channel, check out all the links in the description to see the gear that we use. I made sure there's a nice list of pretty much everything, so check that out if you're wanting to start your own one. Because I've had people ask me, say, I really want to start a podcast. And I mean, look, I'm no expert, that's for sure.
None of us are.
But I'm happy to help, and if you want to know what we use, check out all the links in the description below.
Definitely.
And that pretty much wraps up the intermission.
Onto a big case now. I know I said I wasn't trying to do big cases, but I couldn't not do this one. What do you think of when I say the name Bill Cosby?
Gross, slimy, creepy, dirty.
Dirty.
No, I can't think of a good thing. I just can't.
No, and in all honesty, if this case hadn't come about, I don't think I would have ever heard of him. I don't think I've actually ever watched a Bill Cosby film. My parents probably shielded me for good reason. Yeah, so I could have gone way more in depth, but I think we got enough to keep us going. Basically, Bill Cosby is not a nice man.
Yes.
I've just read my first sentence. So my first sentence on my notes reads, he's known for nothing else other than being a knob. I can't add any further information there.
Yeah.
So the earliest allegation came in 1965, so nearly 60 years ago. Cosby was accused of drugging and assaulting a woman in his home. She came forward in 2005, so imagine holding that for 40 years, and made a public allegation on the matter. His next victim, I didn't go into detail about all the victims, because there's just so many of them, as we'll go on to see, but the ones that I thought were quite worth mentioning, I did. So his second victim, who was actually Bob Marley's publicist, told a reporter in the early 80s that she was sexually assaulted by him, but the reporter decided not to write about it. Not even just like not writing it in the article, but not reporting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was okay in the 80s. Among other things. This is going to skip between time periods quite a lot. I'm really sorry. I should have done a full timeline. But this is late night researching at its finest. In 1996, a Playboy playmate gave a videotaped interview where she made sexual assault allegations against Cosby. Again, this was never publicised. In 1990... TV host Wendy Williams mentioned sexual assault allegations against Cosby, which was ignored at the time but was brought up again in 2014 when everything resurfaced.
Yeah.
It's almost like people thought nothing of it at the time, and then as soon as the truth came out, everyone was like, oh my god, do you remember that interview? Do you remember that report? Stupid. If people listened at a time, then so many women could have been not victimised. In 2000, so the year you were born, which is just even weirder, a report was made against Cosby that he had forced a 20-year-old woman's hands down his trousers and then exposed himself. He obviously insisted he didn't, and the DA declined to prosecute because some people have money. In 2004, another woman accused him of drugging and, I quote, fondling her, though this case was dropped in 2005 due to insufficient evidence. Oh, insufficient evidence. Bane of my life.
Yeah.
I do get insufficient evidence and why that's such a big thing, but at the same time, with things like rape and sexual assault, if you're not a virgin before it happens, then there is no proof, really. And I find that quite alarming as a young woman in today's society, that my word might not be believed just because I wasn't a virgin before I got assaulted. Hopefully I'll never get assaulted. This is very hypothetical. So following this, a lot of previous victims came forward with their stories. Just an example, another woman accused Cosby of drugging and assaulting her in the 70s, and another one who claimed in 1984 that her coffee was drugged by him and she had woken up partially clothed. There is a lot of similar stories with Cosby's victims in that they were drugged, and they woke up whilst he was raping or assaulting them, or they just woke up partially clothed, or they woke up completely naked, and that just has to be the most horrifying thing. You have no idea, you have no control. So, as well as being an arsehole, Cosby cheated on his wife and had multiple mistresses. One of them reported that in the 70s she was drugged and raped by him the last 2 times they were sexually together. So it wasn't just like he was picking up young girls on the street, couldn't resist himself, couldn't stop himself from doing it. He was making actual advances and actively trying to hurt the people around him, his mistresses. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship, but to become a mistress and not just a one-night stand, there's got to be some sort of feelings there. So, and he still did that to her. So in total, Cosby has been accused by 60 different women, with cases spanning nearly 60 years, and that is as of October 2015. All the allegations resurfaced in 2014 when a certain comedian called Hannibal Buress made a dig towards Cosby, who had been known for talking down to young black men, stating, "Yeah, but you raped women, Bill Cosby, so that kind of brings you down a couple of notches." So the audience, naturally, 2015, is a rape joke. They found it hilarious. But then he encouraged his audience to Google Bill Cosby rape when they got home. This resulted in many more women coming forward because this was now public. It wasn't just being hidden away for very meticulous research people to find. This was now common knowledge. So the model Janice Dickinson, who I remember on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here quite a few years ago. Do you remember her?
Yeah, I've heard of that name before, yeah.
Once you look her up, you'll remember her. Lou Ferrigno's wife. Lou Ferrigno, obviously best known for playing the Hulk, and loads and loads and loads of others.
Wow.
So there were some big names, and there were a lot of models, Playboy playmates, that sort of thing. Probably women that he thought he could take control of really easily, and he did, unfortunately. This also does include 2 cases of child sex abuse against a pair of 15-year-olds, as well as being models or Playboy playmates. A lot of his victims were employees at his cafe. He had a cafe called Cafe Figaro, that sort of thing, which is sickening. And obviously some women were paid off after the assaults, $500, $700, that sort of price range, presumably to keep them quiet or to continue to manipulate them. And most were also drugged or had their drinks spiked. So I'm surprised it didn't get out earlier. One of the women who came forward in 2015 was able to extend the statute of limitations on rape cases, which has helped many other separate rape cases. So, like I said, she came forward in 2015. Her assault happened in 1989, and it sounds so weird, but you can take positives from this negative, and I will go on to that later down the case. But this is one of them. This one woman was able to help extend the statute of limitations, so that's good. A lot of the cases were reported to reporters or people around the victims, but they were dismissed or ignored. I suppose people thought there wasn't enough evidence, or they were just talking rubbish. I don't know. But in nearly every statement, Cosby has always stated that when administering drugs, like Quaaludes, to sexual partners, they were aware and consenting in taking the drug. It's debated whether this means he's actually admitting to rape, but not to drugging the women without them knowing that they're being drugged. Which, murky waters, but either way, it's not very good. So Cosby denied, obviously, any sexual assault of any women, but admitted that he had used sedatives to help gain their cooperation, and that's his own words, gain their cooperation. He'd got the drugs from a gynecologist called Leroy Amar. Why he was going to a gynecologist, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, he didn't have the things that you need to go to a gynecologist. Who knew Cosby himself wasn't going to take them? So, unsurprisingly, this gynecologist had his medical license revoked, and Cosby eventually admitted to knowing it was illegal to give drugs to others at the time of the cases. So, that's like a pretty well-known thing, I think. Don't give your prescribed medication to anyone else. So, you know, why he was having prescribed medication from a gynecologist, I have no idea what he said or did to... Probably paid him off, didn't he? So the first time that Cosby was eventually charged with counts of sexual assault would be January 2015, so only 6 years ago. And it was against one woman named Andrea Constant, with 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. And this was only in regard to unwanted sexual attentions instead of actual non-consensual sex. So he's still getting charged with something along those lines, but it's not good enough, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So Bruce Castor, a lawyer, has supposedly promised Cosby in 2005 that he would not be prosecuted, which is a decision he defended 10 years later as well. But you can't make promises like that. That's just not okay.
No.
Again, like the last, the Roman Polanski lawyer, you can't, like, what in your right mind makes you think that that's okay to think that when you're working in the justice system? So in 2016, Judge Stephen O'Neill decided to not dismiss the Cosby case. A few months later, at the preliminary hearing, a judge found that there was enough evidence to proceed with the trial. I don't know what this evidence is, but there was enough of it. So the trial started June 5th, 2017, and ended in a mistrial just 12 days later as a result of the jurors being deadlocked. If found guilty, Cosby could have been sentenced to 15 to 30 years in prison and a fine up to $25,000, which, similar to what you were saying earlier, is like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
Someone of that fame. I don't know where I was going with that, but...
Oh, yeah, that amount of money is nothing to him.
No. I mean, even if he just had $1 million, that's still nothing. So yeah, that's just... I just don't know what's going through the jurors' heads, if I'm going to be quite frank. How can he be deadlocked? Surely it's obvious.
Yeah. So
Cosby's second trial was due to start September 2017, but it was pushed back to April 2018. I'm not too sure why, but it just was. Cosby had a new attorney to represent him in this trial. His name was Thomas Mesereau, and he actually represented Michael Jackson in his 2005 child molestation case, which is what we mentioned a lot earlier.
Yeah.
This time he was actually found guilty in a federal court for the 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault against Andrea Constant, who was the reason why this was opened. On September 25th, 2017, Cosby was found guilty and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison, had to pay the prosecution $43,611 and pay a further fine of $25,000, which is nothing. really.
Yep, still nothing.
And 3 to 10 years. I mean, I know he's old and probably gonna die soon, but it's the principle of it.
Yeah.
um, Obviously, he tried to appeal his sentencing, but in December 2019, his conviction was upheld by a 3-judge panel in the Superior Court of Pennsylvania. In June 2020, so less than a year ago, Cosby again tried to appeal his sexual assault conviction, believing that the questions asked within the testimony were more harmful than factual. The court heard this appeal December 1st, 2020, which was only last month.
Yeah, that's not long. Wow.
It's... Oh, I want to know what's going through his head to make him think that he can still... I mean, what's the point? I mean, by the time, like, all the paperwork's done, he'll probably be dead anyway. Like,
Exactly.
Just go sit in prison. Just go rot in prison. Like, go where you belong.
Spend your final years alone in a cage.
Please. Yeah, that would be my ideal. And then the real positives come out of this case. I know it's hard and it might be a bit insensitive to say it, but just listen. So the real positives to come out of this case is the passing of lots and lots of new legislations to protect similar cases from happening again regarding rape, sexual assault, that sort of thing. So these were all implemented from the assault itself happening to the legal proceedings that took place afterwards, and even up till the legal proceedings that are happening now. So we got the Ontario sexual assault plan, which has a $41 million budget to combat sexual violence and harassment. We got the Nevada sex assault law, which means that in Nevada, if you're found guilty of rape, the criminal prosecution... What am I going to say? The sentencing for rape in Nevada is now 4 to 20 years, which is a pretty big gap, but I suppose 20 years is better than 10. The Colorado sex assault bill, which extends the statute of limitations to 10 to 20 years to come forward with a case. The Presidential Medal of Freedom bill, which is a criminal penalty for anyone who publicly displays a Medal of Freedom that has been revoked by the president, including up to a year in prison, which is something that Bill Cosby had. He had a Medal of Freedom, and it was a big controversy as to whether he should still wear it on his suit and just display it, really. The Oregon sex assault bill, which is an exception. An exception was created for the 12-year statute of limitations for more serious crimes like rape, so they can come forward after 12 years. They can come forward more than 12 years after the assault happened. I'm really struggling with my words now. And finally, the California sex assault law, which eliminated the 10-year statute of limitation for felony sexual offences. So I know that was a lot of really heavy information, but we've got to see the positives here, and that was the positives at the end. Yeah. It is really hard to listen to.
It is.
And to know that there have been 60 individual women who have reported assaults. How many haven't come forward?
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that case? Other than him being awful.
I mean, that is the place to stand, isn't it? How it's ridiculous he got away with it for so long, and he still kind of has. It's crazy to think, again, just because it's some famous person who's got status, the punishment is either nothing or very little.
Yeah. I think it's gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's the arrogance of it as well. Obviously you can never, ever, ever put yourself in the victim's shoes. You never know what they're going through mentally, emotionally, physically. But if I made a report against someone for a crime such as that, and then for years after they were trying to appeal it, I would be so heartbroken. Yeah. It's the arrogance of it. It's the thinking I can still dominate and control you and do this, that and the other. And it's... I don't know. Isn't there a limit of how many times people could appeal a sentence?
I think so.
I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, though.
I can't see it being very many, because you can appeal if you lose. Like, surely that should be it. But I think maybe you can do it
Yeah.
a couple more times. It depends on, evidence and things like that and circumstances. But
Yeah.
it's not something you can do all the time.
No, like every day I think of a new reason to appeal. Now I'm trying to think of like Making a Murderer, because I know that they've appealed it a couple of times. The guys in that case, Stephen Avery and his nephew, who I've forgotten the name of. I know that they've tried to appeal their cases a couple of times, but I don't know if they've run out of chances or what, really.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have like another depressing one, but hi. So this is our last case for the actors who committed crimes. This one is, I didn't know. Did you know this one?
No. In fact, I don't think I've even heard of the actor before, so I didn't know this at all.
Oh, how rude. Okay, this is the case of Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones is known for playing that really creepy ginger headmaster in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You've at least seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, haven't you?
I think I've seen parts of it a while ago.
That's so disappointing. That is sad.
Oh dear.
Basically, he just even just looking at him I feel a bit sick. But even when I first watched the film when I was, I don't know, like 10, 11, 12, I remember thinking, oh, that's a weird face. He just, I don't know. But very ironic that he was meant to be a headmaster when you read what this case is about. So in 2002, Jones pleaded no contest to charges regarding soliciting an underage boy to take pornographic photos of him. The underage boy was 14 years old at the time that it happened, and it was initially thought of as just child pornography, which is pretty illegal still, but then it was found that he actually solicited the then 14-year-old, which, it's a lot. If you have a moral compass, surely you're going to be like, oh,
yeah,
it's not great, is it? It doesn't look good. Naturally, this required Jones to register as a sex offender, and he had to serve 5 years of probation. What I find a bit ridiculous is that Tim Allen, from the very beginning of this episode, he got like 2 years, 18 months, that sort of thing, in prison for cocaine.
Yeah.
This guy solicited a child to create pornography for him, and he only got 5 years of probation.
I know. It's so just odd.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
No, and it's like the punishments and the laws vary from state to state in America.
But you wouldn't think they differ that much. I mean,
yeah,
child pornography versus some coke. Like, come on.
Yeah, there's no question, is there?
No. Imagine if I was...
No one in their right mind would...
No. Imagine if I was a lawyer, I'd be like, are you joking, hun? Like, get him locked up and throw away that key.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Dig a very deep hole and chuck him in it. Leave him there.
Yeah, I'll dig it if you want.
Yeah.
He was charged 2 more times. Once in 2004 and once in 2010 as a result of failing to update his sex offender registration. I didn't actually realise you have to... Well, obviously I've never had to do it myself, but you have to register your sex offenderness yearly.
Oh, alright, okay.
So he forgot to do it twice because, you just forget these things. They just slip your mind that you're a sex offender. So, yeah. He very nearly faced a 3-year prison sentence for this, but instead had to serve 3 years of probation. Probably, I'm trying to think now. I can't remember what state in America this happened, but maybe it was a money thing, because obviously putting someone in prison costs a lot of money.
It does.
And he had to perform 250 hours of community service, which I think was actually... I think it specifically said, like, picking rubbish off the street, which is quite a satisfying thought. And he is still on the American National Sex Offender Database as of 2020.
Good.
Which is good, very good. But that does make it very weird that he was a headmaster in a high school in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and he was basically trying to... he went to a teenager's house to see if he was actually ill or not. I mean, of all your crimes, don't choose a child-related one when that's the film you're most famous for. So those are all of my cases. Well done for sticking with it. I really enjoyed researching this. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's actually gonna. Maybe people get to like the first one and be like, "This is so depressing."
If you're still listening with us, then thank you for staying.
Mm.
We hope you found it interesting. I definitely found out things I didn't know, and I think that although it's not a topic that people would like to talk about, it's one that they should,
Yes.
because you can't just brush it under the carpet because it hasn't happened to you, for example, you know.
Oh, no, no. And I could have done some like light-hearted crimes as crimes go. I could have done some like funny ones, but why do that when in my first podcast episode I can show myself for the true crime geek that I am?
Yeah, that's come across very clear.
Oh my goodness, do you watch, this is going so off topic, do you watch Ellen and Neil on YouTube?
No.
Okay, she's Ellen and Neil, and she does true crime episodes on YouTube.
All right.
And when I had my breakdown in the summer, I binge watched all of them, and they're all like an hour long.
Wow.
And it helped my recovery. So
Hooray!
yay! Yeah. So if you liked this, then please go. She doesn't need me to say it, but go check out Ellen and Neil because her videos are so much better than these little snippets of cases ever would be.
Yeah.
But if true crime's your thing, go check her out.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of things to go check out,
Check us out.
we'd usually be getting to the point of the podcast where we'd, share some of our, because we'd be, talk about what we recommend, movies and things like that. But hey, if you want to know what we're recommending this week, head over to our Instagram and you'll find it there.
Yes, definitely. So, Bradley, I feel like I have spoken a lot. Your turn.
It is my time to shine. But I was happy being a listener. I felt like I was listening to my own podcast.
How crazy.
I know, right?
I mean, I'm just, love it. And you'll have to listen to it all again when you edit it.
Yeah.
My dulcet tones.
Oh, I feel like this is going to be, even for the next upcoming episodes, it's going to be a similar trend of me. I mean, I'm generally more of a listener anyway, but
that works quite well because all I do is talk.
Yeah, and all I do is I just listen. I'm like, yeah, I got it, and I'm just sitting here taking it all in, filling up my brain.
Perfect guy, girls. I mean, come on. Yeah. So we have our. Is this where we do our news story? I think it is.
It is. It's time for the not yet titled news. Ice cream in northeastern China tests positive for COVID-19. Now, have you heard of this story, Rachel?
No.
No, it was making the rounds on Facebook, I think it was last week, and I just thought the headline was great. I mean, I know the topic is not great, but it's ice cream, and it's funny.
Can't touch anything anymore. God.
No. Everything, you gotta... Like, right now, I'm wearing a mask and gloves. I'm all sanitized.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know what you sanitize, but thanks for offering that information to us.
Yeah, I'm COVID-free, that's all I'm saying. Right, here we go. So yeah, ice cream in northeastern China tests positive for COVID-19. 3 samples in China's Tianjin municipality showed traces of the coronavirus, possibly due to a combination of poor hygiene and cold storage temperatures. So when you're having ice cream tonight, make sure that it's not too cold and not too dirty.
Where were you going with that?
I don't know.
Make sure to sanitize your ice cream. Ben and Jerry,
Yep.
Other ice cream providers are available.
Of course. No product placement or sponsorship in this video.
Oh, what I'd do for a tub of Ben and Jerry's right now. A tub of sanitised Ben and Jerry's.
3 ice cream samples, chocolate, strawberry and taro? I've not heard of that flavour before. All tested positive for traces of the coronavirus after they were submitted to a food inspection. In Northeast inspection, yes,
Inspection.
that's what I meant to say.
Expection.
According to a local report from Chinese media on Friday. And the media in China, it's very, state run, so I believe this to be 100% true.
Or are they just fear-mongering to keep everyone in China inside still?
And not eat ice cream.
And not eat ice cream.
Yeah.
That's
What's
so
the real
sad.
story? Huh?
It's so sad. I just love ice cream. Oh. Oh, well, that brought some joy to us all, I'm sure. Woo!
Oh dear. Well,
Woo!
there you go, guys. You made it to the end of another episode of Daily Weekly Podcast. The first one of 2021. The first one with Rachel.
Well done for sticking with it, and if you understood any of our dark humour there,
I bet Jake is gutted.
I've nearly lost my voice.
Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to check out all the links in the description if you're watching on YouTube. If you are streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, then you can always go over to the YouTube channel to get the full Daily Weekly experience.
Full shebang. If you want to see what we actually look like, I actually wonder that. If people just listen to the podcast, I wonder what people think we look like.
I know.
That's spooky, isn't it?
I hope they wouldn't be disappointed. Imagine.
People will definitely be disappointed when they see what I look like.
Oh, don't be so silly.
Oh, don't be silly. Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for having me on this first episode. I feel like I'm going to thank you after everyone. Like, thank you for keeping me, like a little stray dog. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really good fun, actually.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Probably shouldn't use the word fun, but yeah.
Oh, well, it was. Yeah.
There's no word. Well, don't forget to check in next time. What are we actually uploading next week?
Next week, it's a video, so make sure you watch that one. I don't want to spoil it too much, so you have to make sure you're subscribed to find out what it is.
Woo! Definitely. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Bye!
Oh, it feels so awkward. How do I say bye? Bye! Bye!